All right, so day 2 of NBA free agency is about to conclude. So without further ado, it's time to hand out our NBA free agency grades. You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as we have people watching from all across the globe, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. We're going to go alphabetical order here, so sit back, hang out with us, and if you disagree with me about these grades, you can let us know down in the comment section here. Let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. Our free agency grade for Atlanta, a B-. Day 2 of free agency. They did make a trade that I really like, getting Ty Washington, former first-round pick, back from the Houston Rockets, as well as Usman Garuba, who's a really good defender. A couple of years ago, played for Real Madrid overseas. This is a player who immediately is going to be able to impact a Hawks team defensively that was somewhat lackluster on the defensive end of the floor. We're not sure what the Hawks are going to be giving the Houston Rockets in this trade, but it's enough for the Atlanta Hawks to get off to a pretty solid start a few days after trading away John Collins as part of this offseason pivot. Boston Celtics, free agency grade, A-. Now, they haven't made too many splashy moves, but can we definitively say that this Boston Celtics team right now might be better than the team that lost to the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals? They made this trade back a couple weeks ago, bringing in Kristaps Porzingis, 2023 first-round pick, 25th overall, and a 2024 first-round pick also going to Boston. So you get the best player in this deal between Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and you get 2 first-round picks on top of that. That really set the foundation for the Celtics here in this offseason period. And then they extended Kristaps Porzingis on a 2-year deal worth around $60 million. He will provide floor spacing. You trade away Marcus Smart, too many cooks in the kitchen. Now it allows Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum to create more offensively. Naturally, it allows them to assume more leadership roles, and you can stretch the floor with the big, which I think benefits this offense a little bit because that backcourt was a little bit clogged up. O'Shea Brissett, the other move for Boston. Grant Williams, restricted free agent, the Charlotte Hornets, as of right now, thinking about offering him an offer sheet. Who's the biggest free agency winner so far? We're only getting started. 2 teams down, 28 to go. Let us know down below in that comment section. Brooklyn Nets, same as the Boston Celtics, B-. Damian Lillard has requested a trade from the Portland Trail Blazers, and one of the destinations listed, it is the Nets. Now, obviously, that move hasn't happened yet, and I don't think Dame's going to get traded to Brooklyn, but they did lock up Cameron Johnson, who could be used in a Dame Lillard trade, or if you want him as a young building block, he's a very good three-point shooter who can certainly aid your offense, very good defensive player. I actually do like the value. 4 years, $108 million. They also signed Dennis Smith Jr., probably a vet min prove-it deal on that 1-year contract. Now let's go to the Charlotte Hornets. Like the selection of Brandon Miller in the NBA draft, but these aren't draft grades. These are free agency grades. For free agency, they really haven't done much. If they do bring in a Grant Williams, a big positional versatility at that forward position who doesn't really have a lot of fear. I like the way that he plays the game of basketball. That can improve things. C grade for Charlotte. They did give LaMelo Ball that rookie max extension, him and Tyrese Halliburton of the Indiana Pacers, inking those 5-year deals worth around $260 million. Chicago Bulls have been sneaky aggressive and sneaky active. I just don't really like all of the money that they've handed out, and they're kind of floating in this spot that you don't want to be in the NBA. That's the level of mediocrity here. C+. Kobe White, $40 million over 3 years for him, I think is a little bit too expensive. I think they should invest in Ayo Dosunmu, who was really good his rookie year, somewhat disappointing in year 2. Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer said something I really liked the other day in saying that he thinks Ayo, who won a championship at Morgan Park, shout out to Chicago, won a Big Ten tournament championship while at the University of Illinois, helped turn around the Fighting Illini winning player, could have an impact with his next team like Bruce Brown did this past year with the Denver Nuggets, and then Javon Carter, 3-year, $20 million deal. It's been unfortunate, the injury that happened to Lonzo Ball, because that has really derailed the Bulls to a certain degree. We're the number 1 seed in the East prior to that Lonzo Ball injury, and now they're just kind of in that middle zone. Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's go B+ for Cleveland here. This is a team with a young core, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, if they don't trade one of those two players, but they've rounded out their depth here. Karis LeVert, 2 years, 32. George Niang, 3 for 26, and Max Strus, 4 years, 63 mil as part of a sign-and trade. What's obviously the theme here for Cleveland, getting shooters outside of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. This is a team that is going to score a lot. Can they defend at all? You have Jared Allen, you have Evan Mobley. That'll certainly help that rim protection. I love what the Dallas Mavericks have been able to do throughout the first 2 days. And this goes back to what Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd and Mark Cuban did during the NBA draft when they drafted Derek Lively, who probably isn't going to be an impact player in year 1. They brought in Rashawn Holmes. They needed to become a better defensive team. They needed to add to that front court. So you look at what they've done here. They brought back Kyrie Irving, which was a must. You have to keep Luka Doncic happy and give him another start. You're not going to stop anybody with Kyrie or Luka. And it's not like Rashawn Holmes is the best defensive player. I'd like to see them bring in another wing. But it's the value of some of these deals for Seth Curry as well as Dwight Powell. Dwight Powell, good backup big, who's kind of that glue guy, head of the Players Association for the Dallas Mavericks. Seth Curry on the biannual, one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. He returns to Dallas, $4.5 million per year for Seth Curry. That's a steal. And if Kyrie Irving can stay on the floor and not go erratic and crazy on us, 3 for 126, not terrible there either. Thanks to our friends at Fanatics. We have some great deals to tell you about all the time. And today, NBA jerseys. Plenty to choose from at chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. We're filtering through a lot here. Steph Curry, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic. You can get jerseys for any of these players, any of these teams. These are just a few of the versions that are available. Check out more of them at chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. But make sure you use that link for these discounts to apply. And so that Fanatics knows that Chatsports sent you. Now to the Denver Nuggets, C+. They're the defending NBA champions. They didn't need to make a lot of moves. Now, Michael Malone, during that championship parade in downtown Denver, said, Brucey B, is he going anywhere? Hell nah. Well, he was wrong on that during that funny-ass drunken tirade, but he probably saw, oh, Bruce Brown's getting 2 years, 45 from Indiana. Yeah, we can't afford to bring him back. What I expect to happen is that Reggie Jackson can step into a larger rotational role, as well as Christian Brown, who was really good throughout the NBA Finals. They brought back DeAndre Jordan as well, who's really not going to play much. If they can bring back Jeff Green, that will certainly help the depth department for the reigning NBA champions. And when you have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, you're usually in a good spot. Detroit Pistons, no moves yet. So how can we say that they did good or bad? So we're going flatline here, C grade. Golden State Warriors, B+. I thought it was really important for Golden State to bring back Draymond Green. Yes, it is $100 million over the 4 years, but there is a player option for that final year. This contract allows him to coincide with Steph Curry's contract. They keep this core together. Draymond Green was still an all-NBA defender this past year. Yes, he's getting a little bit older. The three-point shot has left him, but the offense oftentimes runs through Draymond. And for him, keeping this championship culture intact, it's important to bring back a pillar who's helped lift you to 4 NBA championships, lifting 4 banners in San Francisco. If you love the NBA, we're the channel for you. Make sure you subscribe to us here on Chat Sports. At some point soon, we're going to reach 500,000 subscribers. Help us get there, youtube.com/chatsportstv. This news just coming in moments ago from Shams Charania that the Houston Rockets nearing a deal with Dylan Brooks. Houston has been lining up trades around the league, could turn Brooks into a sign-and trade with the Memphis Grizzlies. They're going to pay a lot of money to him. It was all too predictable. They gave the bag to Fred VanVleet. They're going to give him about $43 million per year. Good for Fred VanVleet. Guy went to Wichita State and was doubted coming out of the college ranks. Wins an NBA championship with the Toronto Raptors as a critical piece back in 2019 alongside Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, Pascal Siakam, with Nick Nurse as the head coach. For him to cash in 3 years, $130 for a team that had more than $60 million in cap space, that's good for him individually. But for Houston, it's a lot of money to give a guy who is a good player, but you're paying him great player money. On the positive note, it's a short-term contract. That trade that we talked about earlier with the Atlanta Hawks, we'll see who the Rockets are giving away, and maybe a player could be included here to open up some financial space for that Dillon Brooks contract. Indiana Pacers, B grade. Rick Carlisle, I'm interested to see what he is going to be able to do with this team that now has some intriguing players in general and some intriguing young players. Bruce Brown, 2 years, $45. It's a ton of money, but there's a team option for that second year. So it pretty much could be a one-year deal for Bruce Brown if he doesn't play well. He helped the Nuggets win that NBA championship. Energy coming in off the bench, can hit some threes, he can defend, run the floor, and then Tyrese Halliburton, like LaMelo Ball, signing that rookie max, checking in at 5 years, $260 million. The Indiana Pacers also making a trade on day 2 of free agency. Obi Toppin to Indiana, another young piece, didn't work out in New York, and all they had to do, and all they had to give up for a player with pedigree, 2 second-round picks for a very, very good athlete. Los Angeles Clippers, free agency grade, TBD. Haven't done anything, right? They could trade for James Harden, but as of right now, Steve Ballmer, surprisingly silent. Los Angeles Clippers, A+. Lakers, excuse me, from the Clippers to the Lakers is what I meant to say. Thank you, Jack, for getting in my ear and saying, Chase, you're an idiot. Come on. Los Angeles Lakers, A+ grade. What Rob Pelinka has done since the NBA trade deadline has been great. He traded away Russell Westbrook. The roster construction at the deadline. Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell. It made that team deeper. It made the team have more synergy. That's why the Lakers were able to make that run to the Western Conference Finals. All you had to do was trade away Russell Westbrook. I like what they did in the draft. Jalen Hood-Schifino, and now they've been the busiest team throughout free agency to pair some good players up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and to bring some quality players back. Taurean Prince going to be a backup to LeBron. 1 year, $4.5 million. Gabe Vincent, $11 million per season over the next 3 years. Him and D'Angelo Russell going to be forming that backcourt for Los Angeles. Rui Hachimura was excellent in the playoffs. Floor stretching big, who is a really good player. 3 years, 51. If he played like he did in the playoffs, Lakers are well off. Cam Reddish, 2 years, $4.5. We'll see if he's able to prove himself. Up to this point, he's been a bust. Jackson Hayes is going to be your backup center, former first-round pick, who's been very frustrating so far. Better situation. Can he play better? It's happened before. D'Angelo Russell, 2 years, $37. And then to get Austin Reaves back for $14 million average annual value, I think that is great value for LA. Guy was a UDFA, 2-way contract, fighting for a roster spot, ended up having a very good postseason and a good regular season in which he knocked down about 40% of his three-point shots. Still young, too. So he's going to be able to ball out for the foreseeable future for Los Angeles. Biggest free agency loser. Who is it? Drop me a team name in the comments section. Is it a team like Houston that's paying a lot of money? Is it a team like the Clippers that hasn't done zilch so far? Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going to go B- here. I'm kind of lukewarm on Memphis. They're going to have to survive without John Morant. I thought it was weird that they traded away Tyus Jones because sneakily, when Ja's been out the last 2 years, as he has missed some sizable time, Tyus Jones had that offense and had that team moving in a good direction. So they bring in Derrick Rose, multi-year contract, 2 years, 6.5. Is he going to be able to give you some productive minutes? Maybe. And then Desmond Bane, another one of those rookie extensions, 5 years, $207 for the sharpshooter out of TCU, who's also a very good defender. Miami Heat, A-, and this could obviously change with Miami because if they trade for Damian Lillard, obviously, their grade certainly increases. I have Jack talking to me right now. With the trade conversions that would send Damian Lillard to the Miami Heat, Portland has the goal of finding a third team for Tyler Hero. It's crazy to me, right? Because Tyler Hero is one of the players that you want back if you're Portland. They're going to appease Damian Lillard and send him to the destination that he wants to go to just because he's been loyal and not get the best deal back. How do you do that? That's business malpractice. For the Heat so far, Josh Richardson, he returns to Miami, 2 years, $6 million. Kevin Love, 2-year deal. Surprised it's 2 years, honestly. And then Thomas Bryant. No more to sell or backup minutes behind Bam Adebayo. That can only be a good thing. Milwaukee Bucks, bring back Chris Middleton. You brought back Jay Crowder. This is a team that, once again, is going to have an opportunity to compete for an NBA championship. I think, sneakily most important, though, they're going to re-up with Brook Lopez, who can shoot in the upper 30 percentile from three-point range. One of the best defending bigs in the NBA. Really good player. 2 years, 48. It's lofty, but it's a short-term deal for him and Chris Middleton. Obviously, Jay Crowder as well to fit that championship window to coincide with Giannis still being in the heat of his prime. Minnesota Timberwolves, they have added some depth pieces here, but nothing that is really all that impressive. Troy Brown, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Shake Milton, the SMU product, who was kind of hidden on that Sixers bench. Old man game for him. He can get a bucket, so we'll go with that grade for Minnesota. New Orleans Pelicans, C+. There are teams like this that always have potential, that can never put it together, and I'm not really sure why. Is it because they're in the market that they're in, that players kind of mess around and miss a lot of games like a Zion Williamson? But we'll go C+ here. Herb Jones, awesome defender. It's been the case since he went to Alabama. Loved him coming out of the draft a couple of years ago. 4 years, 54. To the kids watching out there, if you have a little bit of offense and you can also defend on top of that, you can get paid. 4 years, $54 million, not too shabby. Shout out your favorite team down below in the comment section and grade how your team has fared so far. More teams to get to. New York Knicks, free agency grade, TBD. They haven't done anything. Surprisingly, New York has done nothing. I can't believe they haven't signed Dante DiVincenzo. I thought that was inevitable there. Oklahoma City Thunder continuing to put together a very good young core. Sam Presti is like the Howie Roseman of the NBA. How he does it financially, how he fleeces teams, it continues to really boggle my mind how intelligent he is and how impressive he has been as a general manager. Oklahoma City moving forward, a lot of quality young pieces. They were supposed to be a rebuilding team last year, and you know what they did? They made it into the NBA play-in tournament. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the best young stars in this league. And late last night, they did trade for Victor Oladipo. That was pretty much so that the Heat could shed that salary. They may have known that a Damian Lillard trade could be in the works. Oladipo did get hurt at the end of last year for Miami. We'll see what that recovery timeline is. Orlando Magic, another one of those young teams like the Detroit Pistons that has a good young core, just frankly not ready to win just yet. They did bring in a veteran in Joe Ingles, 2 years, 22. And then Mo Wagner continues to play with his brother Franz Wagner as the brother Wagners continue to team up in Orlando. Philadelphia 76ers, they lost Shake Milton. They lost George Niang. They've only brought in Patrick Beverley. Adrian Wojnarowski saying it's going to be a one-year deal worth in the neighborhood of $3-4 million. If there's ever a player that fit the city that he's going to, it's Patrick Beverley to Philly because he is oh so Philadelphia. If he can be a little bit better of a shooter, because that part of his game has kind of escaped him the last couple of years, that could be a very good value deal for him as a backup guard. Phoenix Suns, love what they've done. So Phoenix, Dallas, Lakers, three teams. I absolutely love what they've been able to do. On day one of free agency, they pretty much filled out their bench with a bunch of vet min deals. But these are vet min deals for some quality players here. Keita Bates-Diop, I think he's a good player, 6'9" last year, almost 40% from three-point range. He can play. Damian Lee is not a bad player at the end of your bench. Yuta Watanabe is a solid player who Kevin Durant really wanted in the desert. So I like what Phoenix has been able to do. Last year, I thought they lacked a lot of depth. It really came back to bite them as well. They addressed that depth so far in free agency. Portland Trailblazers, F. You're going to trade away Damian Lillard, a top 150 player of all time, one of the best offensive players of this generation, and you're going to settle for not the best trade package out there? What the hell are you doing, Joe Cronin? And you're giving Jeremy Grant $30 million per year. You know, I was talking about the Pelicans earlier, and now I'm thinking about it more. Bad organizations stay bad for a reason. Portland, listen up. Maybe take a note from a team that's also on the West Coast, the Sacramento Kings. For 2 decades, they were irrelevant. They were bad. Love what they did in the draft a couple of years ago and in free agency 2 free agencies ago. I love what they're doing here in free agency this year as well. B+ for Sacramento. They also re-signed Harrison Barnes, so you can add that to the Kings free agency tracker. Trey Lyles is a big who can shoot that 3 ball. Then they bring over an international player, Sasha Vezenkov, I believe is the pronunciation there. 3 years, 20. Another player in that front court. And this kind of fell under the radar here. Chris Duarte had a good rookie season out of Oregon. He's a little bit older, mid-20s already. And his sophomore season wasn't as good, but you got him for draft compensation. Chris Duarte is a good 3-and-D player. San Antonio Spurs, C+ here. Now, during the offseason, they got Victor Wembanyama. That's a massive win. They signed Trey Jones, brother of Tyus, I believe, 2 years, 20, and then Julian Champagnie, 4 years, $12 million contract, $3 million per year for him is kind of nuts. They've been mentioned as a potential Damian Lillard destination. I think that's extremely unlikely because it's a lateral move. You go from a team in Portland that has no chance of winning a championship to a team right now in San Antonio that maybe the future is bright, but right now, no chance of winning a championship. Toronto Raptors, kind of mid offseason so far. They're kind of in that territory with the Chicago Bulls, like not good enough to be a serious contender, but not bad enough to be a high lottery team. Jakob Poeltl, $20 million per year. I like him, but $20 million per year, certainly a lot. Dennis Schroeder, $13 million per year for him. It feels as though that was a desperation move to make up for losing Fred VanVleet, and then Gary Trent Jr. signing a contract extension after he opted in with the Toronto Raptors. Utah Jazz, this team's in a good spot. Look, if you're from Utah, they haven't done anything. Don't get panicky over the Jazz getting a C- grade. That team is headed in the right direction. Washington Wizards. Let me give the Wizards a shout out. You know, the new regime comes over from the Los Angeles Clippers. They trade away Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis. I like what they've done with the trades of those players, some of the value that they got back right away. I didn't like the value that they received for those 2 borderline stars. You can make the argument they're not stars, but then it became clearer and clearer that the value was a little bit better, and in free agency, they've done some nice things here. Now, they're not going to be a good team, but they're going to be a league pass team for sure. Kyle Kuzma's going to chuck. Jordan Poole's going to chuck. Tyus Jones in that backcourt alongside Jordan Poole, and Kyle Kuzma, by the way, signing with the Wizards, re-signing 4 years, $102. They also traded away Monte Morris for a second-round pick, and a near $10 million trade exception is headed back to our nation's capital in that trade with the Detroit Pistons. So that right there, our NBA free agency grades through the first 2 days of NBA free agency. We've been live for several hours for both days of free agency, and we're going to continue to keep it moving here. What do you think of my grades? A, B, C, D, or F? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.